Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I got my good buddy from the left coast. He's up early to hop on here and drop some serious knowledge nuggets on my Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. And my boy Neil Matthews has a podcast called Other People's Shoes. And don't go over there and listen to it now, but wait till the end, because you want to hear some knowledge nuggets that's going to get you over, that's going to fire you up even more. And my buddy Neil is a bounty hunter, 8 to 5, podcast host, inspiring storyteller and speaker. Other People's Shoes podcast host, husband of 19 years, and father. Go Blue Devils. I mean, go Heels. He's a huge North Carolina fan. Neil has been in speaking events, sales, collections since he was 19 years old. He has produced 100 plus episodes of Other People's Shoes podcast since its launch in 2019. Neil believes once you have walked in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. And that's how we rock here at Time to Shine Today. It's all about empathy and seeing things through other people's eyes. But with my boy Neil, it's through other people's shoes, which is fantastic. He wears his sandals, dusts them off where people aren't ready to listen, but he drops serious knowledge nuggets. So Neil, welcome to the Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. Please introduce yourself to the squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Well, first off, thank you for that introduction.
Yeah,
I'm a rock star welcome. Wow, red carpet, everything. You rolled it out for me. I appreciate that. So my favorite color is, I say Carolina blue, but some people might view it as a light blue or a sky blue.
All right, my man. Hey, you know, Carolina, I'm a huge wrestling fan. I wrestled since I was 4 years old, and they just had their first national champion, Austin O'Connor, since 1995. So at least you guys won something this year. No, he's an awesome wrestler.
Wow.
Wow. Dude, I'm Michigan State, dude. We got kicked out like before we had to play ourselves in the tournament and lost to UCLA.
Well, yeah, look who's in the Final Four, right? You got UCLA who beat you guys.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think they're one of the first play-in teams to ever make it to the Final Four. So you have to check me on that. But
I love it.
Yeah. So there we go.
I love it, brother. So let's get to the origins of kind of where you started. I mean, your husband, 19 years, you know, you got a lot, you have an awesome backstory. You and I talked about it before, but like, can you share a little bit of that backstory and working your way up to Other People's Shoes? And by the way, squad, Neil is a brother in faith with me. Everybody knows that I don't care what anyone thinks. I love Jesus and I walk the walk. Sometimes I stray from it, don't get me wrong, but you know, Neil is somebody that helps hold me accountable when I listen to his podcast to really keep me on that path. And he's a man of faith. So let's get into that story a little bit here, brother.
Yeah, so I grew up in the church, so I'm always scared to say that, and not scared from a trembling fear standpoint, but I hope it doesn't turn people off by saying that. I guess is why I start with that. But yeah, so I grew up in the church. I became a pastor at roughly about 25 years old, and did that for a number of years, and then I stepped out of it. And went into kind of the business circles, if you will, the entrepreneurial. I tried my hand at that for a dabbling moment of trying to start my own business. And then, all along the way, I kind of had this desire still to be either in front of the camera or behind a microphone. I grew up always wanting to be on ESPN, doing college basketball games. I mean, that was kind of my end goal. And, fortunately, that didn't work out, because I've been able to do so many more amazing things. But yeah, I've been married to my wife of 19 years. It'll be 20 this August. So happy and joyful about that. We're high school sweethearts, and we have a 13-year-old who keeps us busy. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So almost 20 years. Does it feel like 20 minutes underwater? I'm kidding. We won't ever hear that.
Not at all.
Awesome.
No, actually,
I see your guys' life, and it's awesome, dude. I really appreciate it. That's just a joke I throw out there, because decades is a long time for people, and that is amazing. I mean, so there is some magic that keeps that together. You mind sharing a little bit of that with the squad? Well,
absolutely. I want to say that it's not a Hallmark movie every single day at our house. So how about that? But I will say, we've had our challenges. I mean, we've had our dark valley moments where we've had to walk through. I always say my wife is practically perfect in every way, because she's pretty amazing. It's me that is usually, kind of the dummy of the group. And so, from that standpoint, I've learned to love, learn to listen, learn to, respect her and what she wants. But I've also, learned for myself that, have to be really quick to, again, forgive. I have to be really quick to start that conversation when I know I'm not feeling at my best. And I've realized also within the last, I would say 6 months to a year, it's not a competition with her and I. We're on the same team. It's not like if she gets a promotion at work, I'm like mad at that. It's like, no, it's team, Matthews, if you will. So
love that. Love that. So let's get into the podcast, man. Let's, how did we kind of roll into that? I know that you said, fortunately, that it didn't work out with, what your maybe initial dreams were, but God had another path for you. Let's talk about the origin and how you even came up with Other People's Shoes podcast.
Well, that's a great question, Scott. And for me, I can't take credit for it. I really can't. As I mentioned, I've been in church life for a long time. And so, I stepped away from a youth ministry that I was pretty involved in due to some leadership changes and things like that. And I wasn't really thrilled with where the direction was going at first. I've now since gotten on board with the direction, but my wife actually gave me the idea to start the show. And I really had no idea what a podcast was. I mean, I'd heard about them kind of through, rumor mills and things like that, but never really listened to one. Sure. And still really don't listen to a ton of them. I know that sounds bad as a podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm so afraid that somebody else is going to maybe influence what I do, which is good and could be bad, from that standpoint. But yeah, my wife gave me the idea, and, from there, it just kind of learned and kind of watched a little bit of stuff, but I really just kind of went out on my own and really did it. And so I don't know, the results, I guess, can maybe speak for themselves.
Love it. So who's the avatar? Who's your listener that you're hoping to gather and listen to Other People's Shoes?
Well, that's a great question too, because I think maybe some people have that down as hosts. I know you do. There are some other people that I know. Mary Snyder, she's a great mentor of mine. She has a podcast called Take the Stage, and she's fantastic. She knows exactly who she's talking to. I still don't know who I'm talking to. So I like to think that I'm really talking to somebody that maybe is struggling with some empathy, maybe that wants to hear some really amazing stories on, how somebody maybe got through something maybe traumatic or, of a challenge or whatever. But for me, in May, I'm going to be kind of maybe flipping the script a little bit, because I'm really going to be centering around people that are in a stuck moment, that really have had that kind of Cinderella type story where they're stuck where they are, right? We all know that Cinderella story where she was stuck where she was, but it wasn't until that glass slipper came along that she really became unstuck and really started to really thrive in that new life with the prince. And some people are like, that are dudes, might be listening going, well, that's awesome. I'm not Cinderella. So the flip side of that is, I don't know if people know this or not, but 1985, you remember that year, Scott, by chance?
I do. I was 13, so I wasn't a baby. Yeah, I was 13.
Okay, well, good. You probably remember this guy that came out of this University of North Carolina. His name's Michael Jordan. I don't know if you remember that guy or not, but
yeah, I'm a Pistons fan.
Familiar with him a little bit, being a Pistons fan. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, back in 85, when Jordan first came into the league, he couldn't wear his signature Jordans. A lot of people don't know this because they didn't match the color scheme of the uniforms, believe it or not. So his shoes were actually banned by the NBA. He couldn't wear them. He could only wear them in exhibition games. And so controversially, Nike made this commercial where he's bouncing a ball and it starts at his head and kind of works down to his shoes. And there's a black box where his shoes are. And it says, the NBA may ban him from wearing these, but we never will. Great marketing idea from Nike. So maybe there's a guy out there right now that has felt like, you know what, I've been banned from life. I've been banned from these decisions that I've made. And again, conversely, the flip side of that, there's guys and gals out there that I really believe have been stuck. And so we're really going to try this next May through probably, well, at least through the summer to see how that works, to see if people are really have these unstuck stories and to hear more about those.
I love it. And the guests that you're already doing that, in my humble opinion. You're already doing that with me. You had me on, which I have that stuck story, and Raina Rose, our good friend that introduced us and stuff. So as you're going through, what, with your listeners, what do you want to bring out within your podcast to help them find their blind spots?
Well, I think what I try to bring out is most of the people I've had on are not uber famous, right? Sure. They're just not. they're everyday people. There's somebody you're going to bump into at the Starbucks line. There's somebody you're going to bump into at the frozen, peas section of the grocery store.
Right.
They're normal people.
Yes.
And for me, I feel like there's great value in just normal everyday people, because we look at a celebrity and we're like, we know that they don't really maybe have it all together, but it kind of looks like that still. So we get tricked. Our eyes get tricked, our mind gets tricked, our ears get tricked. And so for me, if I have just the normal, kind of run of the mill kind of guy or gal, I really feel like it really sets the stage and really even sets the table for somebody to really just learn from them. Because I believe truly, if we're not learning from somebody, we're really we're missing out on life.
Dude, you nailed it, because I do that exactly with Time to Shine today. I've had big names on, but most of the people, everyday peeps like you and I, and this is what I love about Dude, because I record 4 or 5 podcasts on Thursdays, and I get 5 hours of free knowledge nugget master classes. I learned so much from my guests that I'm leveled up for the weekend. You know what I'm saying? And then I have to re-listen to it when I edit it and you get even more knowledge nuggets. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, man. So
well, absolutely. I was just going to add into that. Yeah. Recently I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but not so much, but I had a change in my career. Like you mentioned, I've been a bounty hunter for a lot of years, and recently that changed, within the last couple of weeks or so. So, I mean, it's still accurate, because I still believe I am on the hunt for somebody. So there, from a show standpoint, but from a business standpoint, that career did end. But in that moment, I was on a moment of myself being stuck in a job that I really wasn't in love with.
Right.
And I think we've all been there a time or two. I think I know my hand's up. Maybe your listeners' hands are up right now. Maybe they just want to wave them around, and maybe they're on their way to that stuck job, right? So, and they want to wave them around like OPP, and just, or naughty by nature, and, whatever. Anyway, what I say to that is the fact that I was listening back to for an upcoming episode that I have a guy coming on, and I was listening to him as I'm editing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I needed to hear what he had. Yes. I personally needed to hear what he had to say right in that moment. And I was like, how did I miss this during the interview? And I'm like, man, I probably need to go back and listen to some other people I've had on to gain some of that, perspective that I want so much. So no, to your point, that I think people teach us more than we let on. So anyway,
especially if we're open to it, and we let down a little bit of that that conscious blocking. So, you and I kind of understand that Jesus is the best leader ever. Okay. And I don't care like what people think with my faith belief. And again, I fought for my country, literally. So we can have that choice. And I am always saying it. I mean, I believe that anybody's creator is their creator, but I believe Jesus is the best leader ever walked this earth. What do you think makes a great leader?
Well, I think it was Colin Powell, so somebody can fact check me on this, but Colin Powell said this. He said, leadership isn't so much about telling people what to do. It's about inspiring them to do it.
Yes.
And again, I don't know if that was Colin Powell or not, but somebody gave me that quote. Gosh, I was back in high school. And I remember hanging that in my room, pretty prominent, spot where I'd see it all the time. And I remember going out and every time I left my room, I would take a moment, I would read it. And I was like, because again, for me as a young kid, I wanted to be the leader.
Sure.
I wanted to be on the stage. I wanted everyone looking at me. I wanted everyone listening to me. I wanted everyone hanging on every word. But I realized when I kept saying all of the things that I said, I, there was a lot of I in there.
Right. Right.
And, I know people joke all the time that there's no I in team, but there is a me. Right?
There is a me.
We know that.
Right.
But if I'm truly going to be a great leader, I need to first learn how to be humble and then learn how to inspire. And to me, I think those are the keys.
Your podcast name already engulfs what you do. Other people's shoes. You see that. You can see the empathy. You're empathetically looking at them and going, okay, this is what I feel possibly that their need to be inspired to level up and then in turn help others. So have you mentioned 1985, an awesome movie came out in 1985 called Back to the Future. Did you see it? Okay.
Yeah, multiple times. Yeah.
All right, me too, bro. Let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the 20-year-old, Neil Matthews. What kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on that Neil to maybe help him level up, blast through, shorten that learning curve?
Well, first off, I'm going to tell him to stay off the internet, because I think at times, that led to some pretty dark places. So I would probably tell him that. Second thing I'd probably tell him is, again, just like I was saying, right now it's not about you. It is not about you. It is about the people you're going to serve.
Yes.
And you really have to die to yourself. And he probably wouldn't understand that, because I'm still, learning that. But you really need to die to yourself. And truly, if you're truly going to claim the name Jesus as his disciple, which is what I was doing even in those days.
Sure.
I would probably punch him right in the face and tell him, listen, you need to know this.
Yes. We say, give till it hurts so good here at Time to
Right.
Shine today. And that's the truth. I mean, the more you serve, and as long as you're open to reciprocity, you're going to get so much. That's fantastic you said that. So how do you want your dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date. How does Neil want his dash remembered, brother?
Well, I want to be remembered for, obviously being a disciple of Jesus first and foremost. That I loved my wife, the love of my life, the best way I knew how. That my daughter always knows that daddy, no matter what she does, daddy's going to love her. And that, I died, being an impactful person sharing empathy.
You know what, bro? You're doing that right now. And I think that you, like myself, I look at you and I are like parallel lines, brother, that got to intersect here a couple times. And it's beautiful for my life. But we're planting trees, I feel, that we will never sit in the shade of. I really believe that, man. I believe that we are.
That too. Yeah, absolutely.
Because what we're doing, and that's what anyone asks me that question, that's what I say, man. Is that I want to plant trees that, and I want what I'm doing to be so outdated 20 years from now, kind of like the B-2 bomber that bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki for us to win the war. Like that would never work now, but at the time it was it. It's like everything just progresses. And I think that you are absolutely doing that, man. And I love it. So what do you think then, Neil, people misunderstand about you the most?
Boy, that's a great question. I think at times, because I am such a verbal person and really even a verbal processor, that I think in some respects people, there's not a lot of filter here, right? There's
right.
Not. And so I think at times people think that maybe, I come across being very arrogant, very, I had a friend recently say, you're almost like a peacock. And I was like, I thought it was a compliment, realizing it wasn't in hindsight, but I think that's what people see. But I think to me, there's more than meets the eye. We can look at somebody's shoes as an example and we think, man, those are non-name brand shoes. Those are beat up shoes, whatever it may be. There is a story behind the person wearing those shoes. And so I guess that's what I would hope people would realize too, is the idea that, hey, I am more than what you're seeing on the outside. Give me a chance to really show you what's on the inside of my soul.
And I also think maybe people with you might mistake your kindness for lack of tenacity. I think that there's deep down inside some of that Carolina blue competition within you, brother, that I wouldn't say hide very well. I just think you keep it in check. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, I'm one that really does want to play hard, right? And I really do want to play smart, and I really do want to play together. I mean, that's the kind of Carolina motto there. Sure. But in all intents and purposes, I do have a hunger and a desire to reach the people that I have an opportunity to sit with and to be with. And so, again, I think sometimes that comes across as me wanting to promote Neil, right?
Right.
In all reality, I want to just give an idea to somebody and really have them be challenged by it. I call them Starfish Moments, and there's a whole story behind that. But if people want to know that one, they can reach out to me, and I'll gladly share that. But there's this starfish moment that I want with people. And I think if I can do that and wake up every day with that mindset, I think definitely I'm not only to steal from you a little bit, Scott, but I'm going to level up, and I think others would as well. So
love it. I love that. I love it. So what keeps Neil up at night?
Fear of disappointment, and that's something I've really struggled with, and I think others would probably raise their hand to that too, is I never want, and it goes back again to what I was saying, is I don't ever want to feel like I left a situation poorly, or I left a situation where maybe somebody had a bad taste in their mouth about me. And I know that's going to happen. I mean, I know that consciously, you can't please everybody. You can't make everybody happy. And I'm not necessarily trying to do that, but if I know that in some way I've given a bad impression on somebody, man, that kind of still eats at me. But I think the other thing too is I really want, lately what's been keeping me up at night is the idea of, am I giving God my best?
Sure.
Because I know for so many years I wasn't, and that's been really kind of weighing on my soul. How can I get more intimate with him and spend more time with him?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So Neil, let's take out anything electronic. Take out your computer, take out your cell phone, take out your tablet. Quickly, what are 3 things that Neil cannot live without?
Well, I can't live probably without my Bible too much. I mean, I know it pretty well, but I wouldn't want to live without it. I wouldn't want to live without my wife.
There you go.
And I probably wouldn't want to live without my daughter.
Got it. Beautiful. Thank you for saying
and
that.
And if I could add a 4th, probably something Carolina, because I really
Got you. I'm the same way with my
whether it be a shirt or a hat or something. I'm
the same way with my Spartans, man. So what is your definition of a life well lived?
Boy, Scott, you're asking some really hard ones.
It's time to shine, baby.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, for sure. So a life well lived, that's really hard, because I'm going to let others determine that.
Okay.
Because I can't myself determine that.
Right.
And I think the only caveat to that I would add to it is I dream and really aspire to, when my life is done and my body's in the grave, or maybe scattered somewhere in Chapel Hill or who knows where.
Sure.
I really want my Lord, my Father, and my Savior to say, well done, my good and faithful servant. That to me, no matter of the earth accolades or the praises or, how people choose to remember me, I want God at the end of the day to say, well done, my good and faithful servant.
And
that's
will.
what
I promise
dream for.
You will. You live it, man. So squad, as we level things down just a little bit here with my good friend Neil Matthews from Other People's Shoes podcast, we're going to get into our leveling up lightning round, and we're going to do that just as soon as we return from thanking our sponsors and affiliates. Hey, time to shine today. Podcast Varsity Squad. We are back with my good friend Neil Matthews. He's a big Tar Heels fan and also the host of the Other People's Shoes podcast. And Neil, we have our leveling up lightning round. You and I could talk 15, 20 minutes, an hour on each one of these questions. You have 5 seconds and no explanations. You ready to rock?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's do this. What's the best leveling up advice Neil's ever received?
Do to others, love others first, and don't think about yourself.
Golden rule, baby. That's right. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Prayer and meditation before I start my day.
Beautiful. Other than your own websites, and of course our website, timetoshinetoday.com, and Neil's website is the opspodcast.com, which will be in the show notes. What other website do you like to go to level up?
I don't know. I don't probably really have one.
I just say Google or YouTube. That's what I usually say if I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll move on from that.
All right.
What's your most commonly used emoji, brother?
Probably it's hard to explain, but it looks like a diamond, but it's like a light blue diamond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That's the first time anyone's ever said that. It's beautiful. I know which one you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Now, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me on this question. All right.
All right. I'm ready.
If you could stay one age physically for the rest of your life, keep that knowledge you've garnered and continue to gain knowledge, what age physically would you stay for the rest of your life?
Probably 21.
Okay, very cool. I always say 32, but 21's an awesome age too. Trust me. I was in Iraq, but I would take that any day. So, your favorite charity and organization you like to give your time and or money to?
My church, for sure.
Beautiful. Me too. And last question. You can elaborate on this one a little bit, brother, but what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Boy, 90s for sure.
Gotcha. I always say 80s, 90s. I'm like right there because I'm kind of like in the middle of both of them. So
well,
Neil,
was like high school for me. So yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, love it. Love it. So Neil, how can we find you, brother?
Well, absolutely. Yeah. OPSpodcast.com, as you already mentioned. I'm on all the social media platforms. Well, the show is, I am too. I have a personal page, but it's easier probably to reach out through the show. So OPS Podcast Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then I am over on Clubhouse if people want to hang out over there. I'm not there as much as I should be, but I am there too. So.
I love Clubhouse. I didn't think that I would, but man, I picked up so many awesome connections, and
it's like Crack House, really. They should read it.
It is. So do me one huge favor, man. Leave the varsity squad, with one last knowledge nugget you want us to take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's one of my favorite quotes is, and I'm losing it now.
You're fine.
To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. That's Steve Prefontaine. He was an Oregon runner went on to the Olympics in 72. That, by the way, go Google that race, 72 Olympics.
Dude.
Steve Prefontaine. It's heartbreaking, but yeah.
Yeah.
But in that, segueing into that, there's going to be heartbreaking moments.
Sure.
And to me, we're all going to face them. It's what we choose to do with them is really what defines us.
So what we do with heartbreaking moments defines us. What we do.
Yeah.
What we do with heartbreaking
moments is what defines us, for sure.
Yes. That is fantastic. In squad, I'm taking notes, dude. I have like 2 pages of notes. If you're watching on YouTube, my good buddy here, Neil, who, he's been a pastor since he was 25 years old, grew up a man of faith, and his walk is strong. And I love that. His idea of who he thought he would be, the ESPN host and whatnot, didn't work out. And he's actually feels fortunate about that. He really believes in humility and within his marriage and his friendships. And he's learning every day, like we all should, is to forgive quickly. If you're out there, you're struggling with empathy, or you feel bummed out through life, get over to the OPS podcast. And there was an awesome interview on March 24th that he dropped with yours truly, which we had so much fun over there. So get over there, and that'll be in the show notes. A good leader will not tell people what to do, but inspire people to do it. A leader is humble, again, and loves to inspire. Understands that don't make everything about you. It's about the people you're going to serve. He's going to be remembered as a disciple of Jesus who loved his wife, his daughter, and he also feels the love from everybody that's around him. And we'll get into maybe a little bit more on another show, but we're going to want to know what the Starfish Moment is, and we'll definitely dig into that. He's known, the human being has a fear of disappointment, but live with that fear, level up through it. Well, we say get your asking gear and ask people for help through it, and also pray to God and Jesus for the answers as well. And also wants to say what you do with heartbreak moments define you. And trust me, I've been through my share of heartbreak moments. And I turn to God and I turn to the people that I trust to help me level up through them. And people will know that story if they ever listen to mine. And it's been such a privilege. Neil levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's hungry, yet he's humble. He earned his varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much, Neil, for coming on, brother.
Absolutely, Scott. It was my pleasure. And thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Chat soon, my friend.